We continue now at the top of Daf Peiches Amud Beis and Meseches Babba Kamma. This is Babba Kamma Daf 88b. On the previous Amud, the Gemara began a story where the mother of Rav Shmuel bar Abba, she wrote over her Nichsei Melug to her son, Rav Shmuel bar Abba, and she wanted that it would go to him and not to her husband, who was Rabbi Abba. And so the Gemara says she then died, and Azor Rav Shmuel bar Abba came to Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba. Rav Shmuel bar Abba went to Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba to try to get the property, and Ukmei b'nichsei, and Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba said he's entitled to the property, he can get the property, meaning to say again that his mother who took that Nichsei Melug, which the husband was able to work and use the peiros, but that property is not going to go to her husband. Normally the husband inherits his wife, but in this case, she is able to give that property to Rav Shmuel bar Abba, her son. So Azor Rabbi Abba, so then Rabbi Abba went, and Amra Lemilsa Kami de Rav Hoshia. He said over what happened to Rav Hoshia. Azor Rav Hoshia, Amra Kami de Rav Yehuda, and Rav Hoshia went, and he said it over to Rav Yehuda. And Amar Lei, so Rav Yehuda said back, Hachi Amar Shmuel. This is what Shmuel would say in such a case. Ha'isha shem machra b'nichsei melug b'chaye bala. If a wife sells her nichsei melug while her husband is alive, v'meisa, and then she dies, meaning to say she dies before the husband, so habal motzi miyad halakuchos, the husband actually is able to take it away from the lakuchos, from those who bought it, meaning to say that what she sold is not considered to be a sale. And the same thing would be true over here. She's trying to give it to her son. That would not be effective. The husband would be able to get the property. And so the Gemara says, Amru Kami de Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba. So they said this psak in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, who had said the opposite. He had said that Rav Shmuel bar Abba was entitled to the property. So Amar Luhu, so he said to them, Anom masniso yadana. He said, I know a Mishnah proves what I am saying is correct. The Tanan, as we learned in the Mishnah, Kosev nechasav livno leachar moso. Let's say a person writes over his property to his son after he dies, meaning to say he's giving that property to his son, but he wants to continue to get the peiros. So it's a very similar situation in this case. Essentially, the father has a kinyan peiros, similar to the way that the husband has a kinyan peiros in the Nichsei Melug, but ultimately this property, he's writing it over to his son. So the halacha is, haben eino yachol limchar, the son is not able to sell the property, mipnei shehein b'rishos ha'av, because it's considered to be in the rishos of the father. V'av eino yachol limchar, but also the father is not able to sell, mipnei shehein ksuvin leben, because it's written over to the son. But then it says, machar ha'av, let's say the father does sell the property, mechura matshiyama, so then it actually will be sold, but until he dies, meaning to say, the father can sell the rights that he has to the property. He's able to use the property for its peiros, for its fruits, and therefore if he sells it to someone, so then that person will be able to get the peiros until the father should die. And machar haben, and let's say the son sells his portion of the property, so ein lo lokeach ad sheyom sa'av, so then the person buying it from the son can't get anything until the father dies, because again the father is entitled to all the fruits from this land. When the father dies, it was supposed to go to the son sold his portion, so then it will go to the individual, the lokeach, that the son sold it to. But the point over here is as follows: Kimayis of, when the father does die, mio isle lokeach. It sounds like the sale is a good sale, and the lokeach is able to get the property, and it doesn't qualify it. V'afagav demeis haben b'chayav. Now, even though the son died while the father was alive, so you have a situation over here where the son really wasn't going to get it in the end. The son died first, but still we say that the sale was a good sale, and it will ultimately go to that lokeach, to lo asuli de haben. It's even though it's never going to go to the son, but apparently the sale is considered to be a good sale, and therefore the same thing, says Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, should be true over here. If the wife sold, even though the wife died first, but if she sold her portion of the Nichsei Melug, or in this case she didn't sell it, she gave it away, she wanted to give it to her son Rav Shmuel bar Abba, Rav Shmuel bar Abba should be entitled. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, this follows what Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said. The Yamar, because Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish said, Lo shna meis haben b'chayav. It doesn't matter if the son is the one that died first while the father is alive, to lo asu lidei deben, that the property never even got to the son. And lo shna meis haben b'chayav, it doesn't matter if the father died while the son was alive, to asu lidei deben, where it does come to the son, kana lokeach, the lokeach does acquire it. And so therefore, again, we see that that's considered to be a good sale, and over here as well, it should go to Rabbi Shmuel bar Abba. And the Gemara continues the Itmar, because we have a machlokas amoraim about this very issue. Machar haben b'chayav, if the son sells it while the father is alive, v'meis haben b'chayav, and the son dies while the father is alive, Rabbi Yochanan amar lo kana lokeach. Rabbi Yochanan says that the lokeach does not acquire it, because again, it's never going to go to the son. Reish Lakish amar kana lokeach, but Reish Lakish says the lokeach does acquire it. It is a good sale, as we just said above. That's Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish's opinion. And the Gemara now explains the various opinions. Rabbi Yochanan amar lo kana lokeach. Rabbi Yochanan says that the lokeach does not acquire it. Amar lach, so he will say to you, meaning Rabbi Yochanan will argue as follows: Ki kotani masnisin machar haben lo kana lokeach when the Mishnah said that if the son sells it, so we say lo kana lokech ad sheyomes ha'av, we say the lokech doesn't acquire it until the father dies, because again the father is a kinyan peiros, he can get the fruits of this land while he is alive. And then we said that if the father dies, the lokech does get it. That's only talking to lo meis haben b'chayoav. According to Rabbi Yochanan, that's only if the son didn't die while the father is alive. So then we say that the son would have gotten it when the father died, and therefore it goes to the lokech. But let's say the son dies while the father is alive. The property never went to the son because he had died first. So kimayas av nami les leila lokech. So when the father dies also, the lokech is not going to get the property. Alma kasavar kinyan peiros kinyan haguf dami. So you see that according to Rabbi Yochanan, the kinyan peiros that the father has in the land, again, he has the rights to all the fruits of that land. That's like a kinyan haguf. It's like he himself owns the land. And therefore, when the son sells it, he's not selling property that's really his. At that time that he tried to sell it, it really belongs to the father, and therefore the sale is not good. That's Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. But as we said above, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish says, Kana lokeach, that the lokeach does acquire it. Kikotani masnisin machar haben ein lokeach at sheyomas ha'av. When we say that if the son sells it, so the buyer gets it, he doesn't get anything until the father dies. But when the father dies, kimayis of mihas islay lokeach. But when the father dies, the lokeach does get the property. According to Reish Lakish, lo shna lo meis haben b'chayav. It doesn't matter if it's a case where the son did not die while the father is alive. Diyasul liyadi ben, where the son actually would have gotten it. There for sure it's a good sale. V'lo shna meis haben b'chayav, and it doesn't matter even if the son died while the father was alive. To lo asul liyadi ben, even though it never went to the hands of the son. Kana lokech, still it is considered a good sale. The lokech gets the property. Alma kasavar, we see that Reish Lakish holds kinyan peiros lav ka kinyan haguf dami, that the kinyan peiros the father has is not like a kinyan haguf. It's not like he owns the actual property. V'chi kazavin didei kazavin, and therefore what is being sold by the son, he really is selling his property, and that's why it's a good sale. And the Gemara now continues and applies that to our case. Va'anon hashta, now according to us right now, Bein Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba uvein Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara now says we had a machlokus between Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba and Rabbi Yehuda whether Rav Shmuel bar Abba was really entitled to the property. Whether we're following Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba or whether we're following Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Svir Lahu, they actually both hold like Reish Lakish, meaning they both hold kinyan peiros as lav ke kinyan aguf. And so therefore, v'kamer Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, therefore Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba said, Isalka daitach kinyan peiros ke kinyan haguf dami. If it would have entered your mind that kinyan peiros is ke kinyan haguf, kimayis of v'mayis haben b'chayav, in a situation where the father died but the son had already died while the father was alive, amay is lokech. Why should the lokech get it? Ki kazavin hai lavdi de kazavin. When the son was selling it, it wasn't his property, and so therefore elalav shmamina. Rather, it must be kinyan peiros lav ke kinyan haguf dami. It must be again that according to what Reish Lakish is saying, that's what we're saying. Kinyan peiros is lav ke kinyan haguf, and therefore in this case as well, the kinyan peiros that the husband has, that Rabbi Abba has, is not going to affect the fact that the wife gave it over to her son, to Rav Shmuel bar Abba, and therefore again Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba says Rav Shmuel bar Abba is entitled to the property. And so the Gemara now says Hajrua lekame de Rav Yehuda. So now they brought this response to Rav Yehuda. Again, Rav Yehuda said that Rav Shmuel bar Abba was not entitled to the property. So how is Rav Yehuda going to respond? Amar lahu, so he said to them as follows. Hachi Amar Shmuel, this is what Shmuel said. Shmuel made a distinction between this case that we're bringing from the Mishnah and our case. Zu eina doma leMishnah seinu. This case is not similar at all to our Mishnah. My time, and what's the reason? Why is it not similar to the Mishnah? It seems to be exactly the same case, both dealing with situations of kinyan peiros, whether or not that impedes the sale or that impedes the giving away of the property or not. And the Gemara explains as follows. Amar Rav Yosef says, Bishlama itani evcha. I actually could understand the proof. If you're bringing a proof from the Mishnah, if the Mishnah said the opposite, if it said the reverse, it actually would have been a proof. Meaning, hakosev nechasav li'aviv. Let's say it would have been the exact opposite case, that it's not a father writing over the property to his son, but it's a son writing over the property to his father, and let's say the Mishnah gave the exact same sak halacha. So then, iko lemifshat minah de kinyan peiros lav ke kinyan haguf dami. Then you actually could understand from the Mishnah that kinyan peiros is lav ke kinyan haguf dami, and you could apply it to our case as well, and you would say that what the mother gave to her son is going to be effective. Elahashta, but now the katani hakosev nechasav livno. Here, what does it say in the Mishnah? Here, the Mishnah's case is that the father is giving the property over to his son, and so that really doesn't make any sense anyway. Why would a father need to give over the property to his son? His son's inheriting him anyway. Mishum deroy liyarshu. So the idea over here is that son was really already fit to inherit, and the fact that the father is giving the property to a son who is going to inherit him anyway, that shows he's giving an even stronger kinyan. And in that particular case, so then we would say that when the son sells the property, it's a good sale. That doesn't necessarily apply to a different kind of case of kinyan peiros, whether kinyan aguf or not. It wouldn't necessarily apply to our case. In our case, the strength that the woman has in the property is not going to be as strong since the husband has a kinyan peiros, and therefore she wouldn't be able to give the property to her son. But the Gemara continues, Amar le Abaya. So Abaya said back to Rav Yosef, Atu bro yoris Abba, Abba lo yoris bro. What kind of logic is that? Does a son inherit a father and a father does not inherit a son? It's true the other direction as well. A father can inherit a son as well. Obviously, let's say you have a situation where a son is writing over the property to his father. The reason is because there's another person who was supposed to inherit first, meaning the son's own son was supposed to inherit first, and he's trying to keep the property away from his son and give it to the father. But that's true over here also. Hachanami here also, where a father is writing over the property to his own son. He's trying to keep the property away from the other brothers. He has more than one son, and therefore he's trying to make sure it all goes to one son and not the other ones. And so therefore, that's not an argument at all. The fact that if the Mishnah would be reversed, it would be exactly the same as the way it is right now. And so the question then is, what does it mean? What did Shmuel mean when he said you can't bring a proof from this Mishnah? Elamai eina doma leMishnah. Saying, what does it mean that it's not similar to our Mishnah? Why can't we bring a proof from this Mishnah? And the answer to that is Mishum Takana Susha. The reason is because there was a Takana, there was a decree that was instituted in Usha as follows. To Yamar Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, because Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina said, Bu'usha hiskinu, in Usha they made the following Takana. Ha'isha shemachra b'nichsei malug b'chaye bala. Let's say a wife sells her nichsei malug while the husband is alive, v'mesa, and then she dies. Habal motzi miyad halakuchos. They said exactly this. In Usha, they made a special takana that the husband is able to take it away from lakuchos. It's not considered to be a good sale. And Rashi explains, Bu'usha hiskinu, in Usha they made this takana. Di'afagav devial malav kekinyan haguf dami. Even though really, in general, we say kinyan peiros is not kekinyan haguf, and it really should be a good sale. However, Baal b'nichsei ishta, when it comes to a husband with the property that his wife is bringing into the marriage, what we call nichsei malug, al-mu'ar rabbanan l'shibudei, the rabbanan said that his kinyan is stronger than a normal kinyan peiros, mishum eva, because otherwise there might cause hatred between the husband and the wife. V'havik kilokeach rishon, he has to be treated like the first lokeach. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ravidi Barav, and Ravidi Baravin said, Afa non nami tanina. We have a brisa that supports the fact that there is this takana asusha. The case is as follows. The brisa says, Mi'idim anu b'ishploni shagirish esishto. Let's say two Edom come in, and they testify about a certain person that he divorced his wife, v'nasan ksubasa, and he already gave her ksuba, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Peites Amud Aleph.